Hey, do you ever come across something just really weird? Like, you can't even begin to explain why what you're looking at actually exists, let alone how it came from a supposedly functioning human brain. I had this problem as I scrolled across Twitter, that maybe still active social platform, and found a couple of refugees from a since banned subreddit. The tweets I'm showing you right now aren't those exact tweets. I banished those from my mind, but the specifics of them don't really matter. It's the writing style of them, the unsettling baby talk combined with a childish Pepe style avatar. They come together to create a very suspicious vibe. Everything about it implies that something about it is deliberately designed to hide a secret message. You might be like me at the time of seeing this, aware of the unfortunate associations of the green frog, but entirely blindsided by the apparent man-child community calling each other friends. That's the only time I'm going to say that word, and you'll see why. Or you may know everything, and even more than I do after this whole thing, and I'm going to flame the shit out of me in my comment section. And if you're going to do that, you are legally required to subscribe. Don't look at me. It's the law. But above all of that, we can ascertain just one thing. It's really, really cringe. Alright, so this is Pepe. You probably know him. He's created by Matt Fury, I hope I'm saying that right, in 2005 as just a casual webcomic. Yeah, he pees with his pants down. I'll spare you the detailed history. They made a Netflix movie on it if you want that. What matters is that apart from a few early message boards, 4chan was the de facto home of Pepe. Obviously it bled over into places like Reddit and Tumblr, but nowhere had quite the love of Pepe like 4chan did. And well, when a symbol is used by 4chan, it's not going to take long for those users to bring with them an alternative association with it. It's kind of debated whether it was an alt-right symbol before or after it was accused of, such by the wonderfully neoliberal Hillary campaign of 2016. It was a hilarious. Cut that. I think it was not an alt-right symbol in the way that like the black sun is, but due to its home on 4chan, the association was there. Most people using it were already on like some part of that slimy little alt-right pipeline, and branding it as such only really solidified it. Now, I'm not saying that Pepe is by default used by some skinhead when you see it. Twitch, for example, is full of Pepe-style emotes, and there's only like a small amount of neo-Nazis. The astute among you might have noticed something though. The frogs used in the Twitter thread only kind of looked like Pepe. The misshapen little guy we see them using a lot is named Apushtia. It's Finnish for helper. This was how he started. Is any of this supposed to be funny? Why does one guy call him Ahmed? Are they role-playing a service worker? What is a food helper? What a stupid website. So from this original post, you can see like almost all the mannerisms of the modern community. You've got the Pepe that's been sat on, you've got the insufferable baby talk, the calling each other friends and all, just full commitment of the act, even in response to the typical 4chan replies. This post got very popular on 4chan for some reason, and from it was birthed a fun new movement that slowly moved on to other platforms like a virus. Now, there is a reason that places like Twitter and Reddit are so much more palatable to a normal person than 4chan/Bboard. They actually have moderation. Whether or not this moderation is well done is another question, but they do have enough moderation that those coming from 4chan needed a form of plausible deniability. A way to convey Nazi ideas to other Nazis while appearing innocent to normal people. They needed some dog whistles. A dog whistle is a very important term in politics. If you have a policy that is generally unfavourable or alienating within the general population, like rigid Christian values, you might describe it as something that is still conveying its meaning to those in the know, but appears as something less sinister, like family values. The use of dog whistles in politics isn't super new. It came about in like the 80s. But it is a relatively modern political tactic. That's mainly because you didn't have to hide your racism before then. You didn't have to call them illegals, you could just call them whatever slur was applicable for the time, and the crowds would agree with you. Nowadays, overt racism and other forms of bigotries are not generally accepted. You know what I mean. The closer you get towards full-blown fascism and Nazism, the more horrific the message is that you need to hide. Therefore, a more esoteric and easily excusable dog whistle is needed. Italy's current Prime Minister may not be allowed to say that she hates the Jews as much as her father figure, Mussolini, so she simply talks about financial speculators. This comes from old anti-Semitism. Back in the 11th century, it was a Christian sin to earn interest from money. Because of this, in order to avoid abject poverty due to the already prevalent anti-Semitism at the time, a lot of Jews kind of had to be bankers. So was born the association of Jewish people with banks, along with the assumption that it must be evil. And I mean, no one likes banks, just simple class solidarity dictates that the working class should dislike banks. They're the most simple owners of capital, making their money from money. And that's what makes it such an effective dog whistle. Most people might go, oh yeah, fuck the banks, but a Nazi instead thinks, oh yeah, fuck the Jews. They see the high representation of Jews in banks, and instead of assuming a systemic reason for this, they assume that the big Jewish meeting happened last week and every single Jewish person decided to continue doing everything as usual. So now these fans of Apushtia, they hope they make a name for it soon, begin to migrate to Reddit. They needed a name, and they caught lightning in a bottle as they decided on the highly creative name of Frenworld. Now that the residents of Frenworld were on a moderated platform, they needed to shake off the casual Nazi rhetoric often thrown about as jokes in the home of 4chan. If they didn't, well, the moderation policies of pretty much anywhere drew the line at least to before Nazis, but they really liked making Nazi jokes. I'm sure they figured it out. Let's have a look at the fun new subreddit that they created. Now you may notice this site looks a little different to the Reddit that you may know, and for the sake of a storyline, we will pretend like this is perfectly normal. No spoilers. Over on r/Frenworld, they tried a little to keep up appearances to a very stupid outside. There are a lot of posts seem like just generic Apushtia drawings accompanied by the friend speak, but it doesn't take long to notice strange things in the comments of even popular posts. Like this post, where it just seems like a nostalgic thing about that cool S everyone would draw in school. Then you have a look into the comments. And as we look at these posts, you'll notice some funny trends. You'll have the guys that don't want the subreddit banned saying stuff like, oh no, this could look bad, fearing that it could be misconstrued as referencing the SS. Of course, this post does not seem like it is, and it would be pretty conspicuous if you didn't scroll down a bit. You have Fear of Bees with a similar approach to the first comment, and 14 Einsat group in 88 with another... Wait, what was that name? Alright. Dog Whistle class is back in session. So, the 14 words, that's a slogan from a white supremacist. 14 words that I will not repeat, and a name that's going to get the exact same treatment. The 88 has multiple meanings. I mean, H is the 8th letter of the alphabet. Put two of those together and you get Heil Hitler. You can also refer to the 88 Presets, another white supremacist book related to the 14 words, and that's really all you need to know about that waste of ink. You can see then how random these dog whistles can seem. They aren't always subtext, sometimes they are quite literally code. Someone could have just been born in 1988 or their favorite number is 14, but with the powers of a patent-seeking brain, you too can avoid the predators of the mind. Now, one thing considerably less obscure than those two numbers is the word Eisen. I don't care how it's pronounced. It's just the name of a death squad within the SS. Yeah, so they just really weren't trying hard to hide this shit. Many of you watching were well aware of the associations of 14 and 18. They're like baby's first Nazi dog whistles. This has led to a lot of defenders of this community and others similar to it that they're all just trolling, trying to get a rise from people that don't like Nazis. This, as an argument, is just so inane and fucking stupid that I will go against my better judgment and just assume that you're saying it in good faith. Being a Nazi as a joke just emboldens actual Nazis to be Nazis publicly, as they gain plausible deniability as Nazis and are more easily able to recruit more Nazis. I'm sure you can find a funnier bit to run than one that slowly feeds fascist Nazi rhetoric. and regressive society. Everyone sees through that argument. It's not even slightly convincing. You're stupid for saying it. And yes, I know you don't actually believe in it, and I know that you're just a Nazi. Sorry for yelling at that one guy. Yeah, he started it. Anyways, here's a post about putting tenders in a microwave where some comments specifically reference putting 6 million in there. Oh, did you hear that? This is of course a playful joke about the 6 million Jews systematically slaughtered by the Nazis. At least they got a little backlash for this one. Here's another post joking about having an N-word pass, which is already off to a great start. Later on in the comments, we get a nice full screen scan of the pass. Yep. There in the corner is the Confederate flag, and in the other corner is the fucking symbol of the KKK. How original. You can see in the comments that the absolute human limit the brain can take metaphors to. Both of these posts were his, by the way. This guy is seemingly a big poster in the Frenworld community. He loves getting home from like his Facebook admin job so he can be racist on the internet. I guess those are kind of both the same. Here's one of his that implies that he's an enlightened centrist. I've talked more than enough about those guys, but I do find it interesting that in a so-called battle of ideologies, anarcho-communists are up against, like, gay Jewish Trump supporters. Always a good sign when they place being Jewish or gay into the ideology bucket.
Also, could someone tell me what the Milo Rooster thing on his shirt means? I searched it up and I've got no clue, and it's been bugging me for like a month.
Here's one where they imply that police have prejudice against white people. And here is my favourite one, filled to the brim with fun little references that tell us a lot about Mr. Expert Surprise. We've got the green version of the Drake meme with the unwholesome box containing sex toys, which tells us how boring he is, weed, which tells us how boring he is, trans women specifically, which we'll get back to, and bronies, which I guess he's allowed to dislike that one. On the Frenworld certified wholesome corner, we have multiple different beliefs on show. We have traditional family values, traditional family values, traditional family values. Wait a minute. You might describe it as something that is still conveying its meaning to those in the know, but appears as something less sinister, like family values. So he's like the most boring conservative dude. He doesn't like sexual deviancy, doesn't like the scariest drug, and of course is afraid of trans people. Yeah, I'm assuming he's a dude. I'm not doing this as like an ideological attack on women or anything, but because I'm lazy and he deserves zero respect in how he identifies based on just his comments on his post alone. Here we have someone who is transitioning, taking estrogen as a pill, and understandably hurt by the transphobic rhetoric that somehow snuck into the wholesome place known as Frenworld. In response to this light, way too forgiving of a question from a trans person, the hero of our story collapsed back with a horrific response. They refer to trans women as sissy boys and imply a wish to hurt the people that may have helped this person find out who they are. Another person, at least like 3 pegs down on the psychotic scale, comes in defense of the trans woman, and Expert Surprise snaps, saying that his face paint is a stain on the very fabric of the Frenworld. This brief response, breaking their stupid speaking conventions, is just pure hate. Mask off fear-driven words that serve only to... I don't even know, it's just so sad. Let's move on from that. Let's look at just one last thing that he posted. It's shockingly a racist one. A weird one where he places some appustias over this photo of a black man being attacked by what looks to be a police dog. Turns out it's not just any photo, it's one from the Alabama Civil Rights Campaign. What's even more interesting is that in the comments he continues to have his mental break. This post was not popular, and there are people going, "Whoa dude, this is gonna make us look bad." Get this in response. "Post your nose, you clown. Let me see how big your honkler is." He brings up noses again in a response to another group of commenters. Now, noses are a big thing in this subreddit, specifically the phrase long nose. Here is the last chapter of a long-running comment that ended on such a weird, somber note. I wonder why there aren't any more of these. This is another dog whistle, and back to the classroom. Let's not do that again. It's just another anti-Semitic stereotype that was designed by Nazis. That's all there is to it. Now you probably noticed a lot of people pushing back against the optics of these posts. I pointed some out as well. So why are they always talking about the non-friends and how they would look at these posts? And what's up with this big gun that's been hanging around since like Act 1? Why does it look so ready to fight? The subreddit of Frenworld was created on September the 10th of 2018, just in time for a minute of silence the day after. In 2019, the 20th of June, just 9 months later, it was banned off of Reddit. They never even got to celebrate the 4th of July. It reached about 60,000 users, which may not sound like much, but posts were easily reaching like 5,000 each day during its final month, which is more than it deserved. Interestingly enough, though, that subreddit had been living its life pretty alone, just a group of Nazi-loving man-children for its first 8 months. Then, on the 2nd of May, doomsday for weird lonely white dudes happened. A post on a subreddit called Top Minds of Reddit detailed the rampant, everything that the subreddit was doing. I'd highly recommend checking out the post yourself. It really shows how insane things were in phase 1 of the subreddit. I call it phase 1 because after this world, Frenworld was ripped into a frenzy. Using this archive seemingly made by a former member of this subreddit, you can see that half of the posts ever made in the subreddit were made after the Top Minds of Reddit post, which was just 1 month. All the posts that I showed you were from this second phase, and you can see how they tried to hide a little more when you compare it to posts from before then. This split the subreddit in two, with a lot wanting to keep the subreddit from being banned, while others simply just could not handle the cognitive dissonance they felt when they weren't being openly racist. Damage control was unorganized. Sometimes they would just lie about stuff, and other times they just pretend that saying that they weren't bigots would just make it true. I guess that's also lying, but you could put like half of their posts into that category. If it wasn't just racist lies, it was entirely aimless baby bullshit, like, ooh, I'm gonna ask this girl out, or part 2, oh no, the girl I liked is dating a non-friend. It's like an internet anglerfish, where the light bulb thing is teenage overly saccharine posts, and in its mouth is horrifying alt-right neo-Nazi conspiracy theories. So you can see that the members of Frenworld were not good at being normal human beings, and were not even slightly capable of hiding their true feelings to the sudden influx of outsiders. Reddit does actually have rules, contrary to popular belief, one of which is don't promote hate against minorities, which came as quite a shock to Frenworld. Reddit admins did not fall for the bioluminescent light of the anglerfish, and instead speeded through with a little ban harpoon. Stuck in the middle of the deep sea with Reddit no longer an option and their weird sense of community threatened, they had 2 options. They could go back to 4chan, but a lot of the new community hadn't really been fully inoculated yet, and didn't really want to go back to the place famous for being an unmoderated hell site. They could go to Twitter, but the more radical members wanted to run around sea-hailing, and Twitter moderation is even stricter than that of Reddit. Ultimately, people fractured yet again. The more passionate ones went back to 4chan, to the land of the free, and the more adventurous ones went to Twitter. Once at Twitter, if you search up Fren, as much as I hate doing that, you'll notice that the only things they actually do over there is just like good mornings, the occasional hate my wife post, and their favourite dog whistles. Oh, and a lot of where are my friends posts, as it seems like about once every 2 months each person account just gets banned, assumedly from people finding their posts, seeing past the lazy dog whistles, and then reporting them. These people seem to either live 10 fleeting lives a year, or they go over to Gab or Telegram, places with less strict moderation. I am not going to tell you how they're doing over there at 4chan, because I don't want to do that, and you have no way of making me do that. I have spent way more time than I'd have liked staring at these guys and their stupid baby talk. Baby talk that only exists as like the weakest smokescreen for their bigotry. So, after all this talk about man-children, Apple Pushtia, and dog whistles, and racism, and everything else, what's it all even supposed to mean? Like, why does it matter at all? Is it gonna do that? Oh, I guess I couldn't be bothered doing a title card for like 2 more minutes of talking. Other guys over at Frenworld were interesting to look at and a great example of how far-right communities try to hide amongst the bushes of plausible deniability. It is just one example. Hundreds of little slimy communities exist like this on every platform. I think the much more important takeaways from this are the dog whistles. As you saw, there are so many of them, and a lot of them are kind of hard to get without knowing them, and they're just kind of seem like random additions. But they very rarely actually work in sentences. When they do, it's usually because the dog whistle is being used as an in-joke. If you see weird numbers or phrases in a lot of names of people saying stupid shit, look them up. If you see a joke made that seems to hinge entirely on a weird phrase or acronym that you have no hope of deciphering yourself, just look it up. It does not take long for dog whistles to be figured out by the left. If you've somehow found yourself in some weird place, don't bother interacting with them or calling them out, just report them. Unless you are confident that people that aren't insane will read it, trying to own a guy with 300 other weird dudes around will just get you like doxxed or at best achieved nothing. If you see 14 words lover in a viral tweet talking about how much he hates unions or something on Twitter though, you've got free fire permissions there. So yeah, I could talk a lot more about dog whistles, and I very well might, but I think I've talked enough about this stuff today. So see ya.